Welcome back to Harvard. We saw a hot debate, of course, last night between Joe Biden and Paul Ryan, but that was tame compared to some of the fights these days, literal and verbal, going on in the races around the country. With just 25 days remaining till Election Day, candidates are digging up dirt and taking on their opponents in the face and on the airwaves. Shira Toeplitz covers campaign politics for Roll Call. Let's start, Shira, with this one. Let's start with that congressional race in California's 30th district down in L.A., which, because of redistricting and a new California law, has two longtime Democratic congressmen, Brad Sherman and Howard Berman, facing off against each other. Literally. In a debate last night, things got physical. Let's take a look.
When in reality, he knows exactly. See, he's either delusional or...
Sure, you know how people always say when they're polled how they don't like politics getting down and dirty? It looks like that crowd thoroughly enjoyed that carnival atmosphere because they didn't actually punch each other. It was all sort of opera bouffe going on there. But what do you make of it? Give us the context. Why are these guys head-to-head?
Well, this is a member versus member contest. As you mentioned, redistricting put these guys into the same LA area district. And to give you a little history, these are two members of Congress who already didn't like each other very much. And they're two Democrats fighting for the same district, fighting for the same donors and a lot of the same voters in that area. It's one of the nastiest fights we have on our radar this cycle.
You know, I know a bit about Bergen D'Agostino. It's an old campaign consulting firm out there, and it's all done by direct mail, letters written to real people with addresses on them in first-class mail. Very intellectual, smart people, a lot of Jewish voters out there. They all read the paper. They know what's going on. They're very political. And these guys have been serving together for, what, a generation. And all of a sudden, through the weirdnesses of the new law out there, which says every election is now between the top two vote getters, that's the way it is, and you have yourself a real serious fight. Anyway, here's John Allen joining us. He's senior Washington correspondent for Politico. John, I think we're going to be looking at this clip for a while. This is a fun clip. Nobody got hurt, but they got sort of physical with each other.
It is a fun clip. Everybody wishes they could at least get in the face of a member of Congress for a minute. These two guys got to do it to each other. I actually spoke with Congressman Sherman a little while ago. He said that this is not something that he's proud of. It wasn't a great move on his part, this sort of bear hug move. You know, the Berman campaign is already using it to say that he's got bad temperament. That's something they've been making an argument.
Anger management? Is that what we're talking here?
Exactly. They've basically said, look, he's been voted a bad boss in the past, and they're arguing he doesn't have the... Actually, I spoke to Brandon Hall, one of his campaign aides, one of Berman's, and he said Brad Sherman doesn't have the temperament, or this demonstrates that he doesn't have the temperament becoming a member of Congress. So this is something the Berman guys are going to try to use. This has been a race that Sherman's been in control of for a long time. We've seen some maybe desperate...
I thought Sherman was ahead for a while there.
That's what I say. Sherman was ahead. The Berman guys are going to try to use this against Sherman. They've been doing a lot of stuff lately that is a little unorthodox. They've been getting Republican endorsements of late.
McCain, Lindsey Graham,
that's
Lieberman,
right.
They're all in there helping the more hawkish guy in this race. That's Howard Berman. Let's go down to Florida, another interesting race, you might call it that, and the race for the 18th district for U.S. Congress. Tea Party Congressman Allen West, who makes all the noise about, remember, all the communists supposedly in the government. Anyway, he's challenged by a Democrat, in this case Patrick Murphy, R against D here, and a West campaign ad released just a couple of weeks ago attacks Murphy for a 2003 arrest when the Democrat was 19 years old. Let's take a look at the ad.
February 16, 2003, Fort Hood, Texas. Lieutenant Colonel Allen West had just received deployment orders and prepares his men to go to war. That night, South Beach, Miami, Patrick Murphy is thrown out of a club for fighting, covered in alcohol and unable to stand. Murphy then confronts and verbally assaults a police officer. Patrick Murphy was arrested and taken to jail. Two men, a country in crisis. You decide.
Okay, anyway, the Palm Beach Post reports that the charge of intoxication was dropped and a false identification charge was dismissed. Obviously, he had a phony ID, and he got served in South Beach and drank too much. Anyway, Murphy's out with an out of his own, bring up Alan West's record in the military and a 2003 incident when West shot a pistol near a detainee's head following an alleged assassination plot involving the Iraqi. Let's watch this charge.
Lieutenant Colonel Alan West had just received...
You need the facts about Alan West in 2003. West was criminally charged with violating the Uniform Code of Military Justice, found guilty of 3 counts of aggravated assault, and relieved of his command. The final Army report, West, quote, performed illegal acts, merited court-martial, faced 11 years in prison. Alan West, he just isn't who he says he is.
Well, West, the congressman now, did not have to go before a court-martial at that time or to go to jail. He was fined $5,000, however, and received full retirement. Shira, what do we make of these? Are these the kind of wonderful little sugar plums that are thrown before the public 3 weeks before an election, and that's what it is?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, Chris. If you're a political consultant and you have a bomb like this you can drop 3 or 4 weeks before the election, this is exactly what you do. And that's why we're seeing so many kind of these ads that really cut through the clutter, that really permeate. I think in this particular race, the West ad is really strong because it reinforces his opponent as kind of a little too young to run for Congress, which has been their line of attack all along. But it's a competitive district. Obama won it by 3 points. Bush won it by 2 points. Our team at Roll Call gives West just the slightest edge there, but it's a toss-up race.
Yeah, I wonder what you say. Go ahead. You're Pat. I mean, John, real quick, what do you think of these races? Are these kind of charges, they really change people's minds?
I think they do. If they didn't, then we wouldn't see these nasty ads every year in almost every race. You find the worst thing you could say about your opponent a few weeks before, maybe even a few days before. You drop that on the voters and say, are you really sure you want to send this guy to Washington? We see it every year, and it's because it works.
Well, if they go after everybody who drank too much in their teens, I think we might have some interesting political nerds out there. Anyway, just not defending
I'll raise my hand on that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyway, thank you. Are you the nerd or one of the guys who lived that life? Anyway, thank you, Jonathan and Shira Toeplitz. Great reporting. Up next is